podcast.
We in here, baby.
Let's get it.
Am I like the only one who kind of hits me a little chair dance when the intro is going?
You're not the only one. Shoulder
I
just
know. I feel like my legs just kind of start sea walking in my seat.
same.
Oh man, welcome back. So, Rob, how y'all feeling this morning?
I'm feeling healthy and well and energetic and vibrant and ready for a day. I just got my car out the shop. I'm like, okay, as soon as we're done recording this, I'm about to ride around this city and have some fun. That's how I feel.
Nice.
Ooh.
Rob, how about you?
You know me, I'm trying to get out in this sun. As long as it's here and popping, I'm trying to be outside in some way, somehow, even if it's just in my backyard, just to kind of soak it up and feel well.
Get that
I know.
vitamin D.
I saw this post thinking of the weather being better, and it was like, it's almost summer in LA when high speed chases, you start seeing videos of people fighting, like all of the normal shit when it's too hot for folks to be inside. But no, I realized that too. The weather didn't necessarily impact my mood or anything, but I just had, I guess, taken for granted like the sun, because now that it's back, I'm like, oh shit, I can go hang in my backyard. I can go outside and not be dying to get back home. So that's what the only downside is. I do better with the like whole work from home, blah blah blah, all of that stuff when the weather's bad, because where was I going to go anyway? Versus now.
Makes you want to go out and run your errands.
Yeah, be alive.
Gloomy and raining. I just want to be up under a cover, watching a good movie. I don't want to do anything else. But now I'm like, oh, there's things I actually can feel like I can do now because the weather permits.
Yeah, man. Well, shit, let's get into it. Time to check in. Soak, what you got for us?
What I want to know from you all today is what's currently holding your interest? And I'm kind of thinking about new things. We're always learning, developing, growing. Is there anything that's exciting you guys that you feel yourself really like spending a lot of your time on, researching? Yeah, anything fun, new, interesting?
Rob, I'll let you go first.
You know what? I think I've been spending a lot of time like just learning more about like the mind body connection. It's like certain things about how the mind and body impacts one another and the relationship they have. But I've been just like kind of like exploring all the ways that you can connect with your body and seeing which ones work for me, because there's so many things out here. And, it's always shifting too, right? It's like, maybe at one point in your life, it was easy to like, go and do some movement. Like, when you're younger, you're playing sports. That's your way to kind of like release all that extra energy and things of that nature. And it's like, as you get older and your body changes, it's like, what are new ways to do those things, that might be slower or easier, definitely ain't got the, Megan Thee Stallion knees right now. So it's like, oh, what's a gentle movement? And, or, what's a way to love on my body? Like, Qigong is something that I've been doing a lot of, which I really connect with. It's slow movement, breathing, and just saying loving things to my body. So I found that to be really helpful. So I've been exploring more and more different ways to like connect with that, to find balance. So that's what I've been like interested in, I think, as of late.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. What about you, Tris?
Dope. I'd say thinking professionally and personally. So first, professionally, at the bottom of 2019, so right before the pandemic hit, I had finished my EMDR training. For our listeners, it's like a therapeutic modality. And for me at least, I did it like before this whole virtual telehealth shit existed. So like the training, everything was in person. What we were taught was in person, and shifting to pandemic, it just kind of shut all of that down because I needed to wait until the world opened back up, or so I thought. And now really pushing myself to lean into the discomfort of picking this thing up that I was learning essentially 4 years ago and getting back into it. So I think this year alone, I think I've probably have now doing it. I went from one person over the past 4 years to like now I think already I'm like going on my like fifth person. So I think I'm excited to even have the bandwidth to learn something new professionally, to practice something professionally, and then I think personally I've really been enjoying. This is gonna sound like duh, but like getting into reading. Like for me, being a student for so long and then studying for clinicals and then studying like as a therapist like all of my shit has either been school or therapy or school, and like finally been in a space where I can just read. And of course some stuff is like self-help or like probably still the nonfiction, like something super serious, but it's not because I have to. It's like all interest based. But my what's excited me is I've really gotten into like some fictional readings. One of my close friends, um her daughter's in an anti-racist club at school, and they like read anti-racism club and they read certain books, and she's told me about the book, so then I read the books. So it's like middle school books, and Shamila and I, that's my wife for the listen, will laugh because we're like, what in the inner child, like because I'm like just really into these books, like, and they're all like really cool, whether it's like a black Harry Potter version and like you can pick up on the themes of racism that the girl is kind of like dealing with, and the other it being other another book that I'm reading right now where there's a middle schooler whose dad's in prison, and kind of that journey and like really normalizing and creating a space for people whose parents are incarcerated and what that looks. So I don't know, it's just been cool to be like, fuck all of the serious shit. I don't want to know how to help another person right now. I just want to kind of zonk out. And it's still been super cool. And I think because it still is on the themes of what's important to me, like both books are like rooted in blackness and things like that, it's still doing. So anyway, it's just been interesting to, I guess, have capacity to learn new things and to find new hobbies and interests for the first time in like a decade.
Yeah, we need that. We need that time and space to
Yeah,
find what we like. I love
100%.
that there's an anti-racist book club at an elementary school. I live in New Orleans right now, and I'm like, that would not happen here. I forget how lucky we are to be Californians. My God. Um, okay, so I think we're all talking about the same thing. Well, Tris, your EMDR, Robin's Mind Body,
Yeah.
um, me, Ayurveda. I'm into it. I'm interested, and it is. It's all about the balance between the mind, the body, and the soul. Um, I got interested in it when I've been suffering from an illness since a long time ago, but May is when I was like, okay, there's a problem. And I was with my girlfriend, Gabby, who's a Reiki master and totally into energetics and healing. And she contacted her, okay, forgive me if I'm saying it wrong, her Ayurvedic, I guess, I don't know what they call them, clinician, practitioner. And she told her what I was experiencing both physically and emotionally. The woman needed to know both. And then she prescribed, it was like a watermelon turmeric type juice. I had to take 5. There's a certain way to take it. And that just got me really intrigued. Like, okay, so based on my emotional state, there's a food that can assist me. And then talking to Ashley, our staff, like the color red and eating red foods is connected to certain chakras, and just like it's fucking mind blowing, right? It's sad that it's mind blowing because like damn it, we should have been knowing this. But it's really exciting to dig into it. I started reading a book last night on it, and I feel like it's going to be my new course of study, and I'm excited. Yeah, and Tris, with EMDR, I'm like, I supervise Julia and her EMDR work, and it's beautiful to just see that not only the affirmation, but the movement of the body while stating the affirmation creates a new imprint. It's like, oh my gosh, we have so much more control over our lives than we thought, right? We can really rebuild a new reality for ourselves. It's so exciting. And I'm like so excited to be a clinician during this time in the world's history, right? Like we are just like cutting edge, advancing a lot. It's good shit. So thank you all for sharing. And that was our check-in.
Yeah,
Chris, what we
no,
talk about
absolutely.
today?
I was just gonna say first, like I just love that we're all in spaces where we're learning new things, and that's really the work. I would love to put it on a therapeutic whole, but I just think it's people like to always be tapping into new things, exposing yourself to new things, and you take what you want, leave what you don't. But I don't know, and I'm just excited to be here because again, I haven't been in the space to really learn, or at least and learn intentionally.
Yeah.
I would say, but Yeah, speaking just of which and us and all the modalities and the different things and what we're all learning and leaning into, and it's really us trying to figure out, one, explore our interests and stuff, but also what can we offer to folks beyond just talking. And as therapists ourselves, we absolutely believe in the power of talking and verbal process, and then just wanting to check into these other things. And we find, or at least I found, so this is what I wanted to talk to y'all about today. I have found that, okay, we have the things, and that's all cool to have our fixes, right? But like, what is leading us here? What's leading? A big thing that I have found is there are so many people, and I'm people too, y'all. So when I say fucked up, it's not from a judgment space. There's so many people who are fucked up because of lack of apologies, half-ass apologies. Like, just in general, I've been like really ruminating over the idea of accountability, how it shows up, the suffering it caused, the angst it caused, what is like the whole shebang. So I don't know. I just thought it would be worthwhile. I'd imagine we aren't the only ones who've had shitty experiences with forgiveness or lack thereof, or apologies or lack thereof, or just people who can't really make space for us in our experiences. So yeah, just kind of wanting to see where that takes us. Just that initial thought, me throwing out accountability. Anything come to mind for either of you?
Well, when you started, I was thinking about, I can't remember what you said that cued it, but I thought about an apology my father gave me a long time ago, and how that released a lot of angst and pain and resentment and worry, and just like the power of an apology, huge. And then having another parent who, my mom actually just apologized last year for the first time. Thinking I was, okay, here's what I'll say about apologies and why I feel like they're helpful and I sometimes require them. Because if a person doesn't admit to an offense, and maybe they don't believe it's an offense, but if you tell them, hey, this impacted me that way, if they aren't willing to meet me in that emotional state, then they might or are likely to reoffend.
Mm.
Right. And so it's like, to me, apologies are an offering of like a gesture of safety and comfortability. So I find them highly valuable for that reason, because it feels like, okay, I could be back here. And also, let me say one more thing. After an apology, if it's sincere, the depth and strength of the relationship is like intensified, right? So it's like, it's the thing that can keep people away if it's not given, and it's the thing that can build a very strong bond if it is offered. So it's powerful. We're talking about something really powerful today.
What I'm hearing you say, Soko, is that basically accountability is like acknowledgement, number one, of the issue, that it is real and that people are hurt or having distress over it, and then responsibility, because if you're taking responsibility for something, then yeah, that does like impact the rest of the relationship, that you're willing to not only see and hear you, but also take some sort of responsibility in repairing or shifting, or doing something in the relationship that makes people feel safe.
Yeah, the shift. I think that's what people look for after the apology, right? Is the shift. Like, all right, let me see if she gonna act right this time around.
Right, right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I think now I'm just curious, like, and it's like me interviewing y'all, huh? Like, I have thoughts, but now I'm just curious, because like I said, I think about this often, and well, I said sorry, do you say sorry? All of the things, like, what, I guess starting with you, Rob, then, so like, what do you imagine is, what have you found, whether in the work or personally, has been barriers, not barriers for the person on the receiving side of the apology, but barriers for the person whose turn it is to take accountability?
Ooh. I would say that I've seen a lot of people who struggle with accountability, um, for many different reasons. Sometimes it is the like the giving up of power in some way, or the belief around like, if I hold myself responsible for this situation, that somehow I lose position, or someone has an upper hand just because I'm acknowledging, a misstep or a mistake, or um, some sort of like, maybe some deep understanding of self, or self, confidence, self-esteem, something that says like, if I acknowledge this thing that I've done or harmed or hurt someone because of my actions, that accepting that responsibility then is like a part of their identity. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but like if someone makes a mistake, as opposed to looking at the situation being a mistake, now I'm a mistake, if that makes sense. And so like the accountability has kind of like shifted into like, if I acknowledge this thing, then somehow it's connected to who I am as a person, and I can there's nothing that I can do to move forward from that. Like it's like it's kind of like how trauma is, right? It's like it's there, it's happened, we can't get rid of it, and we're learning how to navigate and live with those things. That like somehow accountability also kind of like it's like now this is who we are. People can see it. It's all over me. I made a mistake. I was, you know what I mean? I don't know if
Yeah. No,
jump in.
I'm
No,
tracking. I'm tracking for sure, Rob. I'm tracking for sure.
yeah,
Everything
yeah.
you say, I'm building a little bullet point, and now I'm like, shit. What were the bullet points? Because you said a lot of good stuff. No, really, no. I'm thinking like it. Okay, so we live in a world, I think, where apologies aren't readily offered, and we don't witness it being modeled, right? And so I'm thinking like, now that we know what we know, let's say we had kids, and we're with our spouse or whatever friend, family member, and we fuck up, we apologize, the child witnesses the apology, or we later share with the child like what happened, or some sort of modeling where it's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that to you. I had no idea, that wasn't my intention. But you know what I know is my intention's not important, because what we're talking about right now is your emotions and your feelings. And so I want to be there. I want to meet you there. I want to ask you, like, what do you need from me, so that you know that I care about your emotions and I don't want to reoffend again. And I think if you saw it like that, it's non-threatening, right? It's like a peaceful, amicable, harmonious reconciliation. But I think instead what we witness is like, I ain't fucking with her because she and it becomes like this negative, I guess, routine that we witness. So I think that yeah, it's scary because we don't see it, and we have a hard time if you can't deal with your own emotions and someone tells you that they're hurting. You don't know how to relate to that either. Um, so
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tris, what was the actual question?
It was just like, what do we imagine? Like, what have you seen barriers be? Like, what are some
Barriers.
barriers you've seen to the person needing to take accountability, really stepping into that role and owning their shit essentially?
Yeah, you know what? I'm in a new place and I'm being forced to make new friendships and new connections, which is very interesting to do at 39. As difficult as it is, I'm also grateful because I'm like, I'm still growing. I'm doing new things, right? But my God, it's like, what the fuck am I dealing with right now? But I don't have a lot of black friends here. One of my friends, I'm like always trying to get to a black spot, right? Whether it's a black owned restaurant, a black owned bar, like I want to be around my people. And she hasn't explicitly stated that she doesn't want to be around my people, but I can tell by the behavior, right? So one night we were walking in the French Quarter, and after like 4 requests to please make sure the next place we go to is like POC centric, she took me to this other place that wasn't. And I like got in her face and told her, some expletives, right? Like not totally vulgar language, just kind of told her like, bitch, you don't fucking listen to me. This is a problem. And I'm not used to coming at people that way. It felt like unprofessional, uncouth or whatever. But what I will say was very nice for me to see the rawness that exists within me, that I can pop off, that I can defend myself. And the next day I invited her out to apologize. And what, so here's a barrier, Tris. A barrier is that I'm more inclined to offer an apology to a person I know who will probably own their part too. But when you're dealing with people who you know are not going to own their own part, right? You've witnessed them enough times, you're like, fuck, I really got to just like literally be the bigger person and apologize and take the hit that I fucked up. I'm sorry I hurt you, and not want anything in return.
Yep.
At the age of 39, I could do that. Asked me 2 years ago plus, couldn't. So I think one of
Yep.
the barriers is that you have to lessen your ego and be okay with the fact that the other person might not. And so it's like I guess a shift in the power, right? A shift in shame too. Like I guess I'll be the bad one, is what you're in essence kind of saying.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and I think like you said, I think that's real. We want reciprocity. We want like nobody wants to just be on the shit and sick. I think of like even what you were saying, Rob, like when you were talking about losing your position, and I think for self that like used to be a huge barrier to taking accountability, and it's paired with like exactly what both of you were saying. It used to be rooted in me taking ownership right now because I don't hear where it's like a if I do it, you'll do it. I just hear what I need to do, and for me, does taking ownership then vacate my point because I can apologize for the impact I had on you, regardless of my intention, but my apology is not me saying that everything else I said or what I was like my arguments or my points or whatever. I'm not saying that I no longer believe in those. I'm simply owning this one piece. I can own maybe my tone, I can own how I got at you, but my message is my message, and what I believe is still what I believe. And for me, I used to be like, oh, fuck that, because I'm not, because then there's some people you apologize, and now this is where Soko Point Park comes in, and they're just like, thanks,
Yeah.
and you're like, next, like your turn, and there's no your turn.
No.
This is so interesting because this brings up something that I didn't even think about, the other side of accountability. Because I work with a lot of clients who have severe anxiety, right? And so, like, they're accountable to a fault, right? So it's like a thinking error of self blame, right? If I take all accountability, I can somehow control this situation. So, like, a lot of our work is like, yes, everybody has their part in these situations, but a part of accountability is also holding other people accountable. You know what I mean? And also allowing for their part in this
Mm,
relationship. But a lot of clients are like, well, shoot, they'll tell me a situation where they're like, yeah, this person wronged me. Obviously, this person wronged them. But then they will circle back and say, well, maybe it's because, I could have made them feel this because I was asking for too much of what I needed. And like all of these different things to kind of negate the accountability of that person so they can feel in control of the situation. You know what I'm saying? So it's like
Yeah.
where are we like holding ourselves accountable to control or manipulate an outcome, thinking that we can, if we take it all in, if we take all the blame for these situations, that we can then shift, change, contort ourselves in some way to, continue the relationship or whatever it is. And then it's like we're just kind of going in circles because it's that feeling of like not being seen and heard and then dismissing it to like, put it back on yourself so that you can feel in some sort of control.
Yeah,
yeah.
and probably I would imagine the root of that is you're trying to control how you're perceived, how you're seen, how you're received. In essence, no one wants to be thought of as a bad person, right? I think what we're all striving for that safety of like I'm a good person, right? I'm a good person, right? So when after saying that, I'm like, all right, so what might be a practical solution, y'all? Like someone who, like Rob just described, controls outcomes, tries to, owns the apology, make everything right so that they feel like there's peace. What might, if a client showed up to y'all in session with that scenario, let's say, where might you guide them? Like what could they do to help repair that need to feel like they're always good?
I think well, what instantly came to mind first is like us figuring out where it came from. Like where did this start? And it's such like a myriad of reasons. I'm sure we see like I think what's probably consistent across most clients, I won't say all, most clients is like what you're saying. So like the need to be good, feel good, be well, whatever it's gonna be, like you wanna be healthy. And we live in a world where healthy and toxic, healthy, like we hear it all at the time, like you wanna be, and I think I've just seen for so many different, sometimes it's childhood shit. Sometimes it's people, it's their way of ownership or accountability for all of their wrongs. Like, I was this person this way, and now, like, who I am now, like, I just want to be. And so for them, they're really. So I think for me, I try to take it back. Like, where did this come from? And is it possible to unlearn it? Is this rooted in safety? What type of safety? Is this rooted in insecurity? Like, where are we?
Mm-hmm.
And then I think at some point, because I don't just want to start with like, oh, it's great that you took accountability. Now, what about them? Because that missteps all of what's underlying and what we don't see. That's probably prohibiting you from really leaning in and helping to hold someone else accountable. So I think my knee jerk reaction is connecting the dots. I always I've been really pushing folks like, you try and go through like all of like the fancy different modalities and techniques, and then sometimes I feel like you always land back on presence and mindfulness. Like, are you sitting with your shit? Are you sitting in discomfort? Like, let's sit in sorrow, and let's see what comes up for you as to like what's so bad about it. Like, I think sometimes we're just on autopilot, and I've been talking to clients about this. Like, let's get off of autopilot. Let's sign up to sit in the tough shit, and then we can start to see what our body is telling us why we can't do XYZ. And I don't know if it's making sense, if that
Yeah.
makes sense,
Yeah,
but
that makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah. I know for me, it's shifting the idea of like what we're taking accountability for. And a lot of times is that we're not taking accountability for our own self harm in these situations, right? So it's like accountability might be like, recognizing dismissiveness of yourself in certain situations, because people who typically have a lot of anxiety are probably people pleasing, doing all these things to feel safe and comfortable in these relationships that might be codependent, or they're relying on to like validate or reassure them. And so like, where does accountability lie with you? Not so much in like doing the right thing, because this idea that Soko brought up about, this idea of goodness that society or family, culturally, we've all identified as this, what it means to be good, is a lot about accommodating everybody in your life, managing people's emotions and like, self-sacrifice and, all these things. And it's like, then when we start to feel, uncomfortable, and like when it's, watching everybody's, every little nuance in their face and everything to make sure that they don't feel some kind of way, we start to create a lot of pressure and anxiety on ourselves. And the thing about that is that eventually it will get overwhelming. Eventually, you will then request your needs to be met by people who are used to you being a certain way. And then when they reject that, we automatically look at, okay, it's me. I'm showing up as me now, and people are not responding well to it. So I have to shift back into these ideas of what it looks like to be a good person, and none of that is like connected to like seeing ourselves. We're like an afterthought. Well, once we get here, this idea, once we get here and we hold ourselves accountable in this way, that will eventually be seen and heard. And typically that doesn't happen because we're actually looking to be in relationship with people who keep us needing to be repeat these ideas and patterns because they feel familiar and safe, but they're actually, at the end of the day, not really healthy or comfortable. And then we're all stuck with like, how do I keep changing myself to make, to create these
Mm-hmm.
outcomes? You know what I'm saying? And it's like it's a losing battle, because then we start to self-loathe and all these things when we don't get the outcomes that society has told us. If you're a good person, if you sacrifice yourself, if you show up this way, then this should be the outcome. People should love you, people should show up for you, and people don't. And then
Yeah.
we're stuck with like this idea of needing to control this situation, as opposed to releasing, letting go, showing up for ourselves. And then that is reflected in the relationships where we can be accountable and people are being accountable back. We're in this together. What's my part?
Right.
What's your part? How do we meet each other?
So it's
yeah,
like it's doing away with this ideal of goodness is constant. Good things are not constant, and we are things, and we are not always good, and that's the human experience, right? Dark and light, good and bad, evil and what's the opposite of evil? I guess good. I'm thinking of the concept of rupture and repair, and I'm also thinking of the concept of authenticity. And like, we are put, this is my belief, we're put here as unique emanations of divine consciousness, divine intelligence, collective consciousness. And it is our responsibility to be who we are, not change ourselves to become something else, because conflict sparks change, and change is required for evolution. Like, it's a necessary component in our lives. We need friction. And so, like, by being your authentic self, and when engaging with others who are or are not their authentic self, there will be conflict. That's a part of life. And I think that we need to restructure the meaning of conflict. It's not a bad thing. It actually propels change. It can create stronger repair, like I was talking about, stronger relationships. So I think I would lean into the like, hey, actually, it's good. Conflict is good. Conflict is an opportunity to repair, to learn someone's needs, to learn about your own. So, yeah, just embracing conflict, I think, might be helpful too. And like you said, Tris, sitting with it. And Tris, you asked a question. It was a very simple question, but I love it. I'm going to use it with my clients. You said, "What's so bad about it?" What's so bad about sitting in sorrow? You're right. Like we scare ourselves away from emotions when in fact they're not that scary. We're scared because we're unfamiliar. But the more familiar you are, the easier it becomes. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that's part of like the coming off autopilot that I talk about with my clients. Exactly what you said. I don't know how many times I've probably said like good's only good because bad exists. Otherwise, good would be the standard, and it wouldn't be this thing that sits on the pedestal and we're all striving to be. Like we have to know that like just as like, and I'll bring up my little emotions wheel so they can see all the options. And I'm like, as much as we love to be on this nice, fluffy, warm, fuzzy, whatever the fuck side of it, like it's part of our human experience. Like we're denying ourselves our humanity when we're like, I don't do loneliness, I don't do anxiety, I don't do worry, I don't do fear, disappointment, agitate. Like, yes, you do. And I think like that's probably why you're here talking to me, or why I'm in the where I'm wherever I'm at talking to my therapist is usually like that's at the root of it. Like you said, conflict in and of itself isn't bad. I think it's our inability to sit in that discomfort that creates the issues. Like
That
Mm-hmm.
part.
the arguments only get explosive because of all of the underlying shit. Like at some point through our traumas, our lived experiences, two different people are showing up, and you telling me this makes me feel this way, and vice versa. But if from the jump, from the time we came out the womb, what was modeled for us was healthy conflict resolution, you bringing some shit up to me, it may create a little discomfort. Like I might be like, oh man, like I absolutely didn't want either of you to feel that way, but I wouldn't go like it wouldn't just create this like how dare you think this of me and how dare like it just brings up so many things which lets us know that like it's all about personalization and internalization. Could Robin have a feeling about something I did, and like you both have said at different points, and it not mean anything about Trishan as a person? But
Yeah.
that's not typically how we take it. I take it as you're talking to me about this, you must then think this, which makes you like how would you think? And again, we're back on the rabbit hole. So I really think it is that balance. Can multiple truths exist? Can your truth and mine exist?
Yeah.
And I think, and not making it super academic, but I think of like critical race theory and brave space, which is rooted in the idea of controversy with civility. Like we don't need to agree to disagree. Like that gets us nowhere. Like you said, Soko. Like we don't need to say like, oh, that was nice. No, we can push each other, but we can be civil about it. And
Mm-hmm.
also we can own our impact over our intention. And I think that part is really hard in emotional relationships at work and shit. Well, at work, like if it's the traditional work where you don't really fuck with the people or something, it may be easier to like dissociate some and be like, okay, whatever. But when it's the person you lay down with every day, or when it's the people who birthed you or whoever, I think it can be hard to remove it can be hard to like remove some of those layers and be like, you're just having an experience. I started to lose my train of thought with that one, but y'all know what I'm
That's
saying.
all right. I'm following. I'm following. No, you said something. Oh, you were talking, and we were kind of centering on goodness, and I want to swing the pendulum a little bit onto what y'all. The diagnosis of people who don't fucking take accountability is narcissists, and so I want to talk a little bit about it. And I think narcissists are not bad people. Narcissists are wounded. Narcissists did not
Hmm.
get their needs met. Narcissists were raised in homes where they believed that they were bad. They were informed they were bad, right? And so they're like walking around the world with this protective coat that's like, do not tell me I'm bad. I am not bad. I cannot be bad. Like any little blow that feels like bad becomes explosive. So I just want to bring up the topic of narcissists and how difficult it is to be interacting with someone who and this is something I think we have to accept too, is like some people aren't going to give you the apology, and those might be narcissists in your life or those with those narcissistic tendencies. But it is extremely difficult to be in love in a relationship, a close relationship with someone who won't give.
Mhm.
Do you all have any experiences with narcissists yourself?
Absolutely. My ex-husband.
Okay.
Um, not to give much detail, but, yeah, absolutely, absolutely, and it his we know that narcissists and empaths tend to find each other because you need someone to please and a narcissist needs to be pleased, to reinforce that. And I want to say too, with what Soko said, is that these are all protective personalities. You know what I'm saying? This is all about protecting people from the discomfort of what they deep down inside feel about themselves or about what people might say about them or whatever it is. So it is coming from a place of like safety and wanting to protect themselves from whatever that fear is. But yes, like I've been in relationships very much so like that and going in circles and kind of like, explaining what I was talking about earlier is this idea of like how to, trying to find control within myself to make this relationship continue as opposed to recognizing and giving myself permission to see a person for who they are, right? And like recognizing the incompatibilities there. But yeah, it's really hard to it's really hard to I don't know what I'm can we pause this? I'm like stumbling over my words. So I don't know, I might have to cut this piece out if anybody else wants to chime in and
No, you're good. I'll start answering, but your shit was pretty solid. So when you go back, just I want you to
I
just
don't
hear
know
it.
because I was like going somewhere with it, but I cannot like I lost my train of
Land the
thought just
plane.
thinking about my trauma kicked in and was like, ugh, this
Yeah,
relationship.
Well,
But
yeah.
you guys know
But
my vote. I fuck with authenticity, and if you wanted to keep that, Rob, I think it's actually very poignant to show that, like, even by describing your experience with them, right? Like that's the impact that a narcissist can have on someone who's deeply involved in their healing, right? Like it still throws us to share about painful experiences that we've had that are very, very personal.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
real.
I guess I realized that my trauma response in that situation was like being overly empathetic and like understanding this person, like, and understanding why are they like this. If I can
Mm,
figure this out, then I can help,
mm.
fast
Thinking you could shift it.
forward to me being a therapist. But no, that I could, yeah, if their relationship with their parents, okay, I see how and why. Maybe if I can make
mm,
up for that missing nurturing or, there's some self esteem stuff there. If I can lift this person up and make them feel good about themselves, that eventually they'll see me and hear me. And what I can tell you is that that's not how it works. They have to decide that their life is so uncomfortable and that they can recognize that there's something that they can do differently within themselves to, the accountability piece has to show up at some point. And I don't know if that's from loss, complete loss, because we do require companionship and we do require some sort of relationship uh, and interaction. Like, is that what it takes? But that was my experience, and it's all about how we are in relationship with people to kind of like allow them to be able to see that impact on others.
yeah. No, absolutely. I think of a few different people that I would probably diagnose with narcissism on some level. And no, I think you're right. And I think you're left like, it's always like the mind fuck, right? Like, who knows? This person is off in whatever world with their grandiose thoughts of self. And it's like you who are left with the residuals of it, like the questioning yourself, the trying to validate yourself. And then I think it shows up in other places because then you show up in, like, let's say, hypothetically now I'm talking to you two who are emotionally equipped and have the skills to navigate a conversation around accountability, but I'm bringing all of that shit with me. So I'm here and it's like, it creates a cycle, I guess is what I'm saying, like that. I think the impact and trauma of those situations, the relational trauma that comes from those situations, I think it creates like a cycle where you go, either you continue to do the behavior or once you decide like, fuck that, I'm never relinquishing my peace again, you could be showing up like with this energy. And I think it's like, even like that could be a mindfuck for people like, oh shit, so there are people who are like, all of that wasn't needed. I heard you. I apologize. Like, so it's kind of like the shock factor of like, oh shit, there are people who I don't have to be ready for war. I don't have to play the scenario out in my head and be ready to come and all of these things and be ready to fight for this apology. And I think it's that dance, like you said, we tend to lean towards what's comfortable or what makes sense But again, I think that pushes me back to sitting with discomfort. What does it look like to sit in the discomfort of surrounding yourself with people? And again, I'm making this sound all easy, but to sit in the presence of people who actually can hold space for you, people who are able to hold themselves accountable. And I think on all ends, I think what I'm really hearing, or at least this is what I hope is helpful for folks who are waiting for that apology that may never come. I think on one end, I found where psychoeducation has been extremely helpful. Like sometimes with I've had clients just by saying like, "Hey, based on what you're saying, this ain't your cousin, brother, sister, mama, daddy. This ain't their therapy, so we're not gonna get stuck here. But I just want you to go Google narcissistic personality disorder, check it out, and just see if it fits." I'd say like 99.9, and I'm just giving space for the point zero 0.01. They come back and say it was spot on. And I've literally had people who are like, and that changed my life. Just to be able to say, like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is something. There's a name for you. Because usually too, and not that our topic's about these personality disorders, but like usually narcissistic folks present really well. Like to those who don't have to spend a whole bunch of time around them, if you just work with them, like usually people like them. So it can be hard too to get other people to understand you. It's like, nah, yo, so and so is cool. They cool. They so I think I found we're just through psychoeducation that validation that's one may never come from them, but also may not come from others because they may just be like, I don't see what you see, has been freeing for people to be like, cool, just to know you fit in a box somewhere. And then I can start to build from that. And I think, again, sometimes people just knowing this type of person is not capable of holding space for me, they're not capable of accountability. I've seen for some people that's been healing. Because I think going back to how we started this, so where you've mentioned an apology from your dad, an apology from your mom, I think all of us have people where we probably, if we sat with it, we're probably still waiting for an apology. And I think the struggle for the client is like, how do I find peace knowing that this apology may never come? And my hope is that hearing the lack of apology may not be a you thing. Yeah, some fucked up people who is just on some fuck you, I refuse to see it. But I think by and large, it's not as simple as that. It's not as simple as like I'm just choosing to disregard your experience. And that's not for you to I'm not saying this for you to give them a pass. I'm saying it so that when you're beating yourself up, like what makes me so unlovable, so unworthy that you just refuse to apologize for me, you can separate you out of it and be like, this is a you thing. This is your inability to hold space, and I don't have to question me and my enoughness, if that makes sense. Like, so I
Mm-hmm.
think too, like a lot of people not apologizing, I've come to find is really rooted in their own ability to sit in the emotions that require an apology. Um,
Yeah.
and that can be hard.
So I think I'm thinking about like best ways to help individuals navigate this terrain of dealing with people who may or may not apologize. The one thing that's coming to me is like just the importance of centering in on your own energy, your own emotional state, and honoring your own emotions, not disregarding. It seems like that's like the y'all tell me like that is coming up as the first step because like first you need to know how you're being offended or how you're being overlooked, and then from there it's like okay, well what's causing this overlook and then digging in. But do you all have any tips like how might someone, I don't want to use the word protect, but how might someone honor their selves in this process?
I know we talk about when it comes to apologies, and I think this is kin to closure, right? Too, in this idea of like getting some response that soothes something in us and identifying like what this apology actually means. Because some
Mm.
people say, well, it means I'm not crazy. It means I'm like
Mm-hmm.
not misinterpreting this situation. I need an external validating thing to say that that how I'm feeling is valid, and I think in therapy we're often talking about how feelings are always valid,
Mm-hmm.
you know we can still unpack these things, but the feeling is coming from somewhere that is connected to something going on in your life. And so we're not dismissive of like how you feel is always about that's how you feel. There we can't there's it's just truth in that, but there could be distortion in the bigger picture, right? Around like what we're why we're having these feelings, or like what is the situation and whether the feeling is congruent with it. You know what I mean? But it's always, it's always valid. And so I think that just identifying, like, what does the apology do for you? How does it help you to move on? What does it say about the situation might be helpful to see, like, well, how can we validate ourselves? Well, what are the facts? Is this true? Did this person behave in this way and it made you feel this? Absolutely. So no matter what they say, that's an accurate description of the circumstance or whatever happened. So sometimes that's helpful in, like, creating your own space to feel validated and seen without needing. It doesn't mean that you don't still require the apology, but if you don't get it, what does it look like to still give yourself permission to believe that what you're feeling, what happened, is true?
Mm-hmm. And
Yeah.
real. I like that. I like that. So we got Rob's offering, Triss's was psycho ed, just like knowing, the tenets of a person who may not offer you an apology, and then centering on your own energy and being respectful and mindful of your own emotions. All
And
right.
I was gonna say too, like thinking for the not talking to like folks who may struggle with narcissism, because again we see that as an inability, and for people dealing with people like that, just so we're talking about like how to find peace absent of an apology, but we're not saying you need to stay in relationship, whatever that relationship is with these folks. That's a completely different conversation, the decision for you to make. But often we'll find, even when people who remove themselves, the lack of apology still fucks with you. So we're talking about that piece. What does it look like to move forward absent of this apology that may never come? But I think for the people who we don't have a label of like narcissism, etc., and just everyday folks. And of course, we all have a twinge of a little bit of everything. But I'm like, just like us everyday folks, like I said, for me, sometimes it could be hard because it's like, yo, if I say sorry and you don't, da da da. And I think we have to be willing to again separate it out and just be like, what are my standards, what are my values, and like I'm owning my shit, and is me owning my shit going to be contingent on whether or not this other person owns theirs. And knowing that me owning, so I guess I'm saying for those who might be struggling to take accountability, I think sometimes sit down this idea, right or wrong, sit down if I'm losing my points, and it's essentially, I love you as a human, I love you as whatever role you serve in my life. You're saying I did something that makes you feel that way, and for that I can be like, didn't mean to make you feel that way. Absolutely wasn't my intention. And what does that hurt? Like, what does it hurt to just let somebody, the details aside, if we get out the weeds, what does it hurt to just let somebody I love and care for know, my bad, that was not the way it was going to go. And then in another conversation, you can still circle back and be like, or in that one, you can say, I do think this is important for us to pick up on, but for now, I just wanted. So again, you don't have to vacate points,
Yeah.
but there's also not this all or nothing line of thinking. Like there's a gray area that exists, and you can own your shit and still hold space for self and advocate for self. So first, I guess it's me going back to my point of like, sit in your shit and figure out why is this so uncomfortable. What's prohibiting me from just saying my bad, I fucked up. And 9 times out of 10, I think if you sat in it, you would be able to move forward with owning it.
I agree. Those are excellent tips, y'all. I feel like we're leaving the people equipped.
Man,
Yeah.
well, shit. Y'all got anything else to add?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's it.
Well, Well, listen, y'all hit us in the DMs, hit us on the page, Hill and Chill as fuck. Because we're just curious. We love to hear just other folks' stories of accountability or lack thereof, where people might be struggling in this department on either side of the spectrum. If this was helpful, if you want to hear more about it, all that good stuff,
I
we're
have,
always.
I have a question I could leave with people. Maybe we can get some feedback and we can circle back with this conversation, because I think that um, a lot of people are in these type of relationships with their parents, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
having to detach or to, like, let go of a relationship like that can be really hard for people. And, like, in therapy we talk a lot about permission, right? Letting go of
Yeah.
relationships that are harmful. But, like, what is the hardest, thing that people are experiencing, knowing that their parent is showing up in this way? And, like, how do how are you managing that? And, like, what would you like to do in these relationships? I'm just saying that because I know a lot of clients are like, I love my mom, but I don't like her. If she wasn't my mom, we wouldn't be friends in real life. You know what I mean? And so
Yeah.
like, what is it
Yeah.
like to navigate that? So curious
Yeah.
to hear
I
how
think that's helpful,
experiencing that.
especially yeah, especially acknowledging the population that we aim to serve. I think that's especially a big topic for folks of color, especially black and brown folks. Like, what do we do when it's our own families, especially the parents who are held to a high regard, who are harming us in this way of accountability? So yeah, we'd love to hear stories. Definitely down to go down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
so to speak. Well,
All right.
we
All
we
right.
appreciate y'all. We
Time.
appreciate y'all.
It's been
See y'all
real.
next
It's
time.
been chill. All right.
Chill and chill as fuck podcast.
We in here, baby.
Let's get it.